The whole idea was to just make a hobby business.
We competed against each other for years.
You guys fight about whose recipes was whose.
The original one.
I remember making that beer in my backyard.
I don't remember that at all. Yeah. We had to make a decision at some point along the way to take it seriously.
I totally won.
That beer I considered pouring down the drain at one point in time, and we weren't expecting it. Some little brewery from Saskatchewan to be recognized as making the best beer in Canada. Good to go?
Yeah, let's do it.
Great. Okay, my name is Glenn Valgertson. I'm the owner of O Bones Brewing Company. We're here at O Bones today. Not much for titles, but I do our sales management, and I guess I effectively take our CEO role on. I'm from Lumsden, Saskatchewan originally, and I started home brewing because I thought the price of beer was too expensive when I was in my 20s. So I started making kit beer, and it was terrible. And then I was Googling it, and I found out about this club that had been open in Regina for a bunch of years called the Ale and Lager Enthusiasts of Saskatchewan, ALES, right? And we met in the basement of the Bushwhacker to learn how to make better beer and build equipment.
Yeah, like a lot of craft brewers, I started out brewing beer at home. I joined the homebrew club here in Regina, and that's where I met all my business partners here, including Jeff from Nokomis. And we competed against each other for years, just trying to make the best possible beers we could. Glenn and I got into a duel trying to build the world's best homebrew system. I totally won.
Like we'd send videos. I'd be with my new system, I'd rig up an electric system, right? Then he'd rig one up or something different and he'd send it back and forth. And so it was out of just absolute competition originally. And then you enter beer competitions and, all that kind of fun stuff. But him and I just really struck a big friendship.
After competing against each other for all these years, we decided to team up and try to make the best beers we could working together.
We got wind that there was kind of a defuncto brewery in downtown Regina that had been closed for many years. The owners had put in a bunch of money for it and they just kind of shuttered the doors. So we went in there and the whole idea was to just make a hobby business. We were just gonna make some cool beers, keg them, sell them to bars and restaurants, and just have a hobby business on the weekends. Pretty much pay ourselves to hang out was the goal. But we did a pretty good job of it and had some really awesome beers that came out of it. So we had to make a decision at some point along the way to take it seriously.
Right from day one, we were dreamers. We wanted to, all those years of home brewing and making great beers that we loved sharing with each other and criticizing one another and just trying to get better together. When we decided to collaborate, it was just something really special.
So we had to make the call. We had to say, are we gonna make this a real full-time business where a couple of guys are gonna have to leave their jobs and go full-time? So we ended up saying, okay, we're gonna go and facilitate a loan and do this big build out and put our houses on the line and put our entire lives on the line.
The four of us, we all got together and we pulled on the same rope. And for 9 years now, went from, brewing in the basement of underneath O'Hanlon's in a parking garage to Saskatchewan's largest craft brewery.
Essentially, beer has been around for, 500-600 years. It's not anything new. The big change nowadays is you're trying to take the same basic ingredients and just do things in different ways to come up with different variety of flavors. You get different flavor profiles, you get different hops. Hops were generally always the hops grown in each direct region around the world where the beers were from. So you never got a large variety of hops. You basically used the hops to add bitterness to the beer. Whereas now we could take those same hops and add them at different stages of that brewing process. Will give you radically different flavor profiles in a finished product of a beer.
A hop is a woody vine with a bee plant. Starts in the ground in May. By mid-July, it is 18 feet high. The hop then will produce cones. These cones are then used in the beer process. And what the brewers want out of the cones is the lupulin, which gives them alfalfa for bittering, aromas, and flavors. J.G.L. Shepherd Farms is the only commercial operator of hops in Saskatchewan. We grow approximately 10 acres of hops with 12 different varieties. Pile of Bones was the first craft brewer that really looked at our hops, smelled them, and came to us and said, hey, we like these, we're going to use them. They are our biggest customer. We depend on them to help us scale up our operation and grow more hops and better hops.
So we're here in front of our mash tun. This is the start of the brewing process. As you can see, it's quite a bit bigger than me. When I was a home brewer, I think I was working on just like a little tiny pot, an igloo cooler, and everything was just kind of slapped together. But this system is one of only, I think it's 6 or 8 completely, fully functional, autonomous brew systems in North America.
We invested heavily in the equipment. We went after fully automated systems for repeatability so that we could have our quality brewmasters come in and make repeatable products every single batch. And that's what's truly separated us from the majority.
So the first process is essentially you're taking your barley and your wheat, we're mixing with water, and we're basically just gonna steep it like a tea. There's nothing much else really going to it. It's a very simple process. There's at this point, there's no hops, there's no yeast, there's nothing like that. It's just straight Canadian barley and wheat, at least in this brew.
Today I am whipping up a flight board of beers for Glenn and his friends for their dinner party. So this is one of my favorite things to do because we have so many different beers that are just awesome. So I'm gonna pour them a Scarth Street Blonde, which is one of our best-selling lagers. And then our classic white IPA is also one of our best sellers. It's just an awesome IPA, a little lighter than traditional ones. This one comes in at 5% and has a really, really nice citrus infusion. So people tend to really love our white IPA. I'm also gonna add our red ale to the flight board. Our red ale is a really nice amber. There you go, it's such a gorgeous color too. People have been really loving the raspberry wheat ale. It's just got a nice touch of sweetness, a little bit tartness from the raspberry. So this one is definitely selling like crazy, so we'll put this guy on the board as well. And one of my personal favorites is the Space Cadet IPA, which is just a really solid IPA with a really nice bitter backbone. And I'm also going to serve them a snake bite, which can be made in a few ways, but the fan favorite is to serve it half white IPA with half of one of our Ramblin' Nan ciders. So today I'm going to use the Hass Cap. And the Ramblin' Nans have been going really well this summer too. People tend to really love these ciders. They're not as sweet as other ciders. They're lower in sugar, lower in carbs, but still have a whole lot of flavor to add. All right, here's our flights. And here's our cocktail, the snake bite.
Yeah, so this is the wheat that we use. It's from, I believe it's from Saskatchewan, Alberta. So it's all definitely local. We always use Canadian products, as much as we can at least. This is essentially just straight wheat that you get from the farmer's field. They take this, they will put it into a big system similar to this one. They allow it to germinate, and then they'll kiln it so it's nice and dry, and that creates a conversion in the grain that basically, once water hits that, we're able to extract that sugar. One of our clientele's favorite seasonals, of course, is our raspberry wheat ale. We basically take kilograms and kilograms of fresh raspberry puree, and we'll push that right into the tanks you see behind me, circulate it, and once that ferments out, you get this really light, refreshing raspberry beer.
Newest batch of raspberry wheat.
Oh yeah.
Yep, time to try.
Really?
Love this beer.
Let's dig in.
All right.
I actually really do love this beer. It's really good.
Different this year.
Cheers.
There's more fruit puree in this one, and they hit it with a bunch of citra hops too.
Yeah, I'm still good with the fruit.
So the room we're in right now, the tap room, it's got 32 draft lines of only local Saskatchewan beer. Our back bar is all Saskatchewan spirits. That's all we do. Anything in this room, it's Saskatchewan based. We operate a restaurant, a bar. Oxpecker coming in has been just a game changer. I'll admit that I am not a great restaurateur. I love the front of house and talking to people, but we've had to run the restaurant ourselves for a period of time where we're looking for the proper operator. And then we found Derek, and he's making just the absolute best food that we've ever had here. It's really changed the dynamic of the business, to be completely honest.
Hi, I'm Derek Sandercock, the chef owner here at Oxpecker at O Bones Brewery. Making up a few dishes for dinner here this evening. Some bao buns, some smoked beef short rib, an ice cream sandwich. We're gonna go ahead and start with the famous bao buns here. It's the best-selling thing on our menu by far. It's a very popular Asian cuisine dish that's kind of turned into our own thing here in Regina. We're gonna be putting some pork belly on for this particular one. This pork belly, we do a 4-day process on it. So we're curing it, we're kojiing it, we're braising it, slicing it, and then searing it to finish off here. There's a ton of flavor packed into this. It's got a bit of our house-made hoisin sauce that's going to glaze that pork when it comes out. While we got this started, there's a second dish, the entree. It takes much longer to make, so we're going to get that going at the same time here. Is our smoked beef short rib. So I use Speckle Park beef for most of the stuff that we cook here. If you're not familiar with Speckle Park, it is a breed of cattle that was created in Saskatchewan. When raised properly, it's like a Wagyu. The marbling of the fat to the meat is so amazing. We've got a thick cut piece of beef short rib here that's been smoked for at least 36 hours. And we're gonna toss that in the oven with a little bit of our peppercorn jus. 2.5 years ago, the folks at O Bones reached out and asked if we'd been interested in taking over this space. It is a tight, tiny little space for the 140-seat restaurant they have here. So I had to be very particular about what dishes we chose that we could actually execute in this little space, but also trying to come up with things that pair well with the amazing award-winning beers that they make here as well.
I don't know how we got so lucky with Derek. He puts beer in his recipes sometimes, but the fermentation side, right? He's always fermenting something. The fermented fries, koji fermented meat, whatever. It's giving Regina something that we don't traditionally have, something a little different, a little bit of a different flair.
We are constantly on the lookout for local producers and suppliers and people that we can partner with and use Saskatchewan products. We also put a lot of effort into smoking, pickling, dehydrating, preserving things in any way we possibly can. Now we've got a pretty nice smoker that Glenn actually built for me out of an old freezer in the back that gets a hell of a lot of use here. Here is our famous pork belly bao buns. Nice fluffy white little clouds stuffed with koji pork belly, some spicy mayo, cilantro, and pickled carrots and daikon. Die for it.
I remember sitting with Glenn at the Bushwhacker trying to come up with names for the brewery, and I'm a Métis guy, and for us it was part of kind of decolonization and reclaiming place names.
Regina was a Métis settlement, and it was actually originally called O Bones. So we wanted to have a name that was just, when you heard it, you knew it was Regina-based.
Yeah, so we're a verified Métis business by SMEDCO. So SMEDCO is the Saskatchewan Métis Economic Development Corporation, and they have a directory for all of the businesses in Saskatchewan that are owned either majority or partially by Métis people. Once they verify you, you can use their seal on the cans. You'll see on every can of beer we produce, it's got the verified Métis business seal on it, and that's really important to us. I'm a very proud Métis guy. A lot of our investors were Métis people, my brother, my cousins. Our room was designed by a Métis designer, my cousin Melanie Rose, and so for us, that was really important to be kind of proud of who we are.
So this is step 2 of the brewing process. We're gonna take all that sugar and all that wort and we're gonna just drain the tank, leaving all the grain inside this tank. So all this wort is gonna get transferred over to the kettle. By the end, you're gonna have probably about 2,500 liters of beer that's gonna be ready to be boiled and hopped properly for the brewing process.
My favorite beer is by far the Nokomis Brown Ale. It is by far the Nokomis Brown Ale. I love that beer. That is probably why the merger happened, because I just wanted to be part of that beer, because it is amazing. When Jeff started Nokomis, he called me and he said, I'm opening a brewery and I want you to be the sales guy and my business partner. And I said, I'm in no place to do that because I'm broke. And so he said, okay, and he went on. So him and Kara started this really cool business, and Jeff and I always wanted to be business pals.
I like the idea of having some help and a business partner, but it ended up being sole proprietorship. I'd met the O Bones guys before I had even started, and then, we maintained our friendship throughout the years. The merger between Nokomis and Pile O' Bones came about a little over 2 years ago now.
Just the logistics surrounding it have decreased our costs exponentially. Instead of, each of us independently having a truck that has to go to Saskatchewan every single week, we just have one truck, right? We send one truck from Regina to Nokomis, we drop off all our Regina product there, pick up all the Saskatoon product, boom, 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 life's good.
It's a big relief to have a group of people to collaborate with as we continue to grow.
Well, remember it was started as a red IPA. Like it was my recipe. So I brewed as a home brewer, and then Nathan got a hold of it. And
Yeah, but you guys are all like, well, that was my recipe, and when we started, this was my recipe, and you guys fight about whose recipes was whose.
Original one.
According to Josh, he designed everything. Right.
that's not true.
Right. Yeah.
Nathan designed most of them. I just designed the good ones.
So who designed the wet IPA then?
Oh no, that's
Oh.
They're gonna start a fight. I remember making that beer in my backyard 5 years before we opened Pile O' Bones.
I don't remember that at all. Yeah. I seem to remember before we opened my fermentation chamber in my garage having 9 different versions of it going at the same time. Right. So I don't know. Maybe we'll just give me the W on that one.
You'll get Glenn's side of the story and you'll get mine. I definitely came up with it. I brewed it in my backyard for years before we started Pile O' Bones Brewing. And when we decided to go live, we took our recipe, my recipe, and we tweaked it, we dialed it in, and hey, I'll give Glenn credit. He was in on the dial-in process, but it was my recipe.
I always thought it was Nathan that felt that beer.
All right, well, this is the ground level of the brew house. The final step, this is where all the beer ends up. We just finished knocking out. The tank, it has about 5,000 liters of fresh wort in it. And the real magic happens now. So we have yeast that we get from Fermentus Labs in Belgium. We add that to the top, and that starts the fermentation process. As soon as that yeast hits that wort, it essentially becomes beer. We're gonna eventually take the beer that's in here, it's done fermenting, and it's been dry hopped or added fruit to it. We're basically gonna crash it, get it as cold as possible, and then we're gonna pump it over to our centrifuge, and then to our centrifuge into the bright tanks. From there, it's gonna get carbonated, and then it can be sent to our canning line.
So our entree this evening is smoked beef short rib, warm potato salad, and corn ribs. So for our corn ribs, we've steamed it and then cut it into these ribs so that the shape of like the core of the corn, the cob itself, is gonna act like a bone when you're eating it off there. We've got our house-made chili spice and our garlic parmesan. So it's kind of like a play on a Mexican street corn in a way. And then for our potatoes, these have been pre-steamed as well and now fried in beef tallow. We're gonna finish these with fresh arugula, our smoky pepper aioli, and our house-made onion jam. So the onion jam is just like taking a whole bunch of onions and caramelizing it down until it has released all of its sugars, super sticky and sweet. It's kind of a potato salad in a way, but like has the barbecue flavors, but then it's also warm. So like really nice addition to the plate going with the beef short ribs here. It's a beautiful piece of beef here. I'm gonna start with our potato salad and our corn ribs. And then I'm gonna put the beef on itself. And then finishing with just garlic and herb butter. This is kind of the hero item on our menu right now.
So we picked the location here because honestly of zoning. When we opened the brewery, it was just challenging to put one anywhere because you kind of need this light industrial designation, and then being so close to the stadium was just an unintended, I don't know if it was a blessing or not. I always say that whenever there's a Rider game on, no one here is having a good time because it's so packed. So it's a blessing and a curse, I guess. Yeah, but we love it, sure, yeah.
Game days here at Pile O' Bones are wild. We know it's gonna be busy. We know there's gonna be a lineup out the door. If you're coming down on game day, get here early if you want a seat.
Well, we're really lucky here at Pile O' Bones to have a centrifuge, It kind of is the equivalent of having a giant filter for all your beers to run through. Essentially, we're taking beer from any of our fermenters, we pump it to the centrifuge, and from there, the beer gets spun around super incredibly fast, and then beer is shot out the bottom, and it goes to our bright tank where it's already fully carb. So essentially, this machine is running at 8,500 RPM per minute. So anything that goes in there, it just tears all that protein, the extra hops, any yeast that's still left in the beer, pulls it out, sucks it down the drain, and you're just getting that fresh, clear beer going through the lines. These systems are very expensive, but it helps us drastically reduce wastage. At the end of the day, it's just more better quality beer.
Our ice cream sandwich is a new addition this year, and we actually collaborated with a producer that's an hour north of here. This is a brown butter miso caramel ice cream with like a soft brownie cookie.
Are we gonna dig in here or what?
Dig in.
All right. Cutting off some of that rib.
All right.
Go straight for the ice cream.
Yep.
I was actually gonna do that myself.
That's a good choice.
There you go.
Serve you here?
Oh yeah, thank you.
This is the best ice cream sandwich I've ever had in my life.
Very, very happy with that for sure.
Yeah.
And Nan, how are things down at Ramblin' Nan Cider Co?
There you go.
You mean here?
Yeah.
They're going great.
So the Ramblin' Nan's cool little product line. The way it all started was Nancy Morrison. She was just sick of all this really sugary cider that gets made. When we were coming up with the whole product line, this was a push by Nancy. I kind of was thinking maybe this is the right call to base it after her.
You know, one of my favorite songs is Hank Williams' Ramblin' Man. I remember we watched an old documentary that I made her watch about the history of country music, and she heard Waylon Jennings singing Ramblin' Man, and she decided to start calling herself Ramblin' Nan. A few years later, when we decided to work to launch the craft cider, Nan developed the entire brand. She was key to the development of the entire product. And so we decided to name it after Ramblin' Nan.
It doesn't have that fake sugar flavor
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it doesn't
because there's no preservatives
and no sugar added.
and no sugar. Yeah, we really nailed it on the cider flavors.
Yeah, I agree.
Do we have any more of that coming, or because it's flying off the shelves?
Yeah, we're making more. There's apple season's around the corner. We just contracted a big tanker of it. The bulk apple juice that we have to ferment on site.
Like everything else in the brew house, we really rely on automation as much as possible. So in the brew house, we essentially take a whole stack of cans. I think each one of these stacks is about 5,000 cans. We'll literally put the whole skid into our canning machine. It'll go through 6 heads of just carbonation, just to purge any oxygen out of the can. And then it'll fill 6 heads, and then one at a time it'll automatically put a lid on, and then it'll spit out the other side. And then from there, it'll get packaged into just a 4-pack, and then put on a flat of beer, put it on a truck, and then from there, it'll go to all our awesome customers.
So we're heading to Nokomis Craft Ales. We'll drop off our product there, and then the team at Nokomis will take it from their place and deliver it. At Pile of Bones, probably been the best job I've ever had, the best organization to work for. I'm working on opening my own brewery in Moose Jaw. I was kind of nervous about telling them, but they've been super supportive.
It's a family-friendly place. Yes, it's a craft brewery, but craft breweries are for families. Like, our main demographic is young families. People come in, their kids play the pinball machines, they eat the kids' burger, parents might have a beer, and then head out on a Saturday afternoon. It's a great place.
Yeah, let's talk about pinball for a minute. Pinball's awesome. It's great. Like, what are you gonna do? You gonna go to a bar and just sit there and drink beer all night long? You gotta have an activity.
No, actually.
No, they don't.
My kids love it. My kids love it, and I played quite a bit, but I don't have the same passion for it that Glenn's got.
I love what the pinball machines add to the atmosphere in this space.
Right. And like, I agree with them because I like the whole idea of this being like a really nice date night spot. You know, you come in, you play some pinball, there's an activity, drink some beer, have some nice food. Great.
As homebrewers, you're always competing. You're trying to win the hardware, win the gold medal, win the prizes. And so when we went pro, we missed that aspect of it. We missed the competitions. We were all collaborating together, and so the Canada Beer Cup really gave us a chance to kind of come together, Nokomis and Pile of Bones, and collaborate and put our best beer forward.
Yeah, Nathan and I had been talking about doing a collaboration brew together well before the merger was even being discussed. We had the recipe developed already, and then once the merger happened, we thought it would be a good time to finally brew that collaboration beer.
And to win the best beer in Canada, well, that's the goal we set out for 9 years ago, and we did it.
So winning the Canada Beer Cup, that was a shock. We had no idea that was going to happen, especially for the beer that it did it with, because that beer I considered pouring down the drain at one point in time, but we didn't, so that's great. And we weren't expecting it, some little brewery from Saskatchewan to be recognized as making the best beer in Canada. It was a shock, and we're humbled by it.
Both breweries are fairly well decorated and have lots of awards on our shelves. It's always great to be recognized at those competitions.
Pile of Bones represents the last 10 years of my life, good or bad. There's been ups, there's been downs in it. There's a lot of work doing this. I'm very proud of it. It's not just me though. There's 4 other owners in this business, plus their families and countless other people who've supported us. Really, it's people who buy our beer is the reason I get to come to work every day and make cool beers and, you know, have a cool spot for people to come in. I'm very lucky. I know it, and I can't thank this city enough.
Here's to 9 years, many more, and great food, great friends.
Absolutely. Cheers. Cheers.
Is there a restaurant or beverage producer you'd like to see featured on maxTV Local? Let us know at SaskTel.com/local.